Hello and welcome to my family law update for the academic year 2021-2022. The aim with these videos is to supplement the full course that I have on family law that's available for law students doing the LLB that is available on Gumroad, and there'll be a link in the description for that course. But this is an update just to provide some of the latest case law and some of the rising issues that are happening within the realm of family law, either those that have happened over the past 12 months or things that are likely to happen in the future that may be points of contention. Often when it comes to writing essays or answering problem questions in this area of the law as well as others, it's better if you can use up-to-date examples and you're aware of all of the latest issues that are going on. So that's what we're trying to do here. Now, in the update from last year, we talked about the Divorce, Dissolution and Separation Act from 2020 with the idea that this was introducing no-fault divorce. Now, we don't have an exact date for this yet, but it should be coming in the autumn of 2021, so very soon, possibly within the next week, or weeks or months. And the idea here is that it's, as the name suggests, divorce without one party blaming the other. And you can go and look at the presentation from last year about this subject, either for some of the details or because this is the sort of thing that might come up in an essay question, I've got some of the pros and cons in that presentation from last year. So I'm not going to go over it again here, just to give you the sort of highlights. The idea here is that divorce can also be applied for jointly now. Some of the concerns around no-fault divorce were that this would make it too easy to get a divorce and that relationships would end without the parties trying to either resolve some of the issues in their relationship or just sort of getting a divorce because it's the easiest thing to do when the relationship could potentially be salvaged. And so to address that concern, there is a 20-week minimum between the application and the divorce becoming final. The idea is to have a sort of so-called reflection period there where they can reflect on the idea of them getting a divorce and just being sure that it is what they wanted. On the other hand, divorce cannot be contested. There was a previous very controversial case called Owen and Owens, which was all about the contesting of a divorce before the law changed. And the idea now is that if one of the parties wants a divorce, then they shouldn't be trapped inside a marriage. And so the actual grounds for divorce cannot be contested. The divorce procedure is also moving into the 21st century. There's a portal called MyHMCTS, and divorces are now filed through this portal rather than sort of through a paper system. So hopefully that will make things a little bit quicker. From what I've heard, there's a few little teething problems with the portal, but generally the feedback has been very positive and should make it a little bit easier as well for people to do their own divorce as well. So one of the other things that has affected family law to a limited extent is Brexit. So now that the UK is not part of the EU, there's been a bit of a concern so far this year in 2021 that there's less cooperation over cross-border cases. In other words, where one of the parties in a marriage is from the UK and one of the other parties is from the European Union. Previously, that question was governed by EU regulations, and it was basically done by a first-past-the-post system. So if the divorce was first sought in Italy, for example, then that is where the case would take place. Now that the UK is not part of the EU, it's a little bit more complicated about how that procedure will work, and there's going to be questions over which jurisdiction should apply, and that's going to be up to the courts to find that out. So I imagine that many of the family law cases, either so far this year or coming up over the next couple of years, are going to just be trying to sort through that in the context of European divorce cases, and could add a layer of complexity. The other thing that's going to be problematic in this regard is obviously that's going to affect orders relating to children as well. If there is an international relationship that breaks down, then there's going to be a question about what would happen with young children. And so the questions around jurisdiction, etc., are going to affect that as well. One of the other things that we talked about in the update last year was the Domestic Abuse Bill, and that has now become the Domestic Abuse Act 2021. I talked a little bit about it last year, but some of the key elements of this act are creating a statutory definition of domestic abuse, which previously there wasn't. It's establishing the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, providing domestic abuse protection notices and domestic abuse protection orders. Basically a lot of things that were previously sort of available through different remedies, but it was up to the courts to try and resolve domestic abuse issues themselves using a bit of a hodgepodge of different legal remedies that were available at the time. I think the idea with the Domestic Abuse Act is just to try and make sure that things were all in one place, and sort of offering a greater range of options to judges when they're dealing with these types of cases. So some of the other things that come up are placing a duty on local authorities to offer more support to victims, including safe accommodation, preventing perpetrators of abuse from cross-examining their victims, so trying to address some of the issues that came up in the family courts in England and Wales, and then creating a statutory presumption that the victims of domestic abuse are available for special measures in the court system themselves. So basically offering victims a greater level of support and trying to sort of make sure that perpetrators are brought to justice in an effective manner. So that's all of the family law updates from this year. As I say, the full course on family law, which is really hopefully very useful if you are studying family law this year, is available from Gumroad. That costs £15. You can search on the YouTube channel and there's a little bit of an introduction to it. We talk about divorce and how to approach that question. And that would be worth having a look at, and I'll put a link to the full course in the description so you can check that out for yourself. Anyway, I'll be back with more updates soon, but for now, bye!